Hi guys, I thought I'd make you this video so you can refer to bits that you're having problem with as opposed to showing the whole class. What it'll allow you to do is work independently and I can just address your problems as they come up. So now, as we talked about, the first thing you should do is you create a folder. So you create I've created James projects by going up, File, New Folder, and then which is here, and then titling it James Projects. The second thing you should always do, you should then take any footage that you've dragged off your SD card or your USB and drag it into your projects folder. Now what this means is you can take this folder anywhere in the world to any other computer and everything you need will be contained in one folder, and Final Cut will always be able to open the project and have all the information, all the raw footage where it needs. The second thing you then need to do, which I showed you the other day, this is just repeating, but it just helps you cover the steps in case you forgot any of them, is you open up Final Cut. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go User Preferences, and we're going to go to Auto Render. Now always make sure that this is unticked, because you don't want it to render, because once something renders without you choosing to do it, you can't undo it. So always make sure this is undone. After you've done that, you click OK, you go back to Final Cut, you can go System Settings. The thing I also showed you the other day was make sure all these are set, so I go Set. When I do this, I make sure it's set to James's projects, where the footage was I dragged in, and that means, as I was saying before, it will all be saved in this project. So I hit choose, and with this one, you can choose James for myself as I've chosen James projects. If this appears, do not be alarmed, this is quite normal. Hit OK, it will not affect the project, will not affect the folder. So if that appears when you click on the second one, hit set, and just do it for the rest of them as well. So here, James projects, choose, and I've already done it for these. So I set this one, I've set that one, and this one. Don't worry about any of this. It's all okay if it's lower or higher, but it's still okay. Then you hit OK. Now, what we then do is we go up File, and we go Import. After we go up to File, Import, Files, we choose our project where our footage, which we dragged in first, will be in. So I then select footage and I hit choose. Then when this footage appears here, what I do is I drag it down and I drop it on this. Always say yes, because what it does is it changes the settings of Final Cut to match the footage that you've been doing. If it doesn't, what can happen is the aspect ratio of your footage can get distorted, which means that people might appear skinnier or shorter or fatter than they actually should be, because the aspect ratio isn't the same as your footage. So always click yes to this. That means that my footage will then match my aspect ratio of my screen here. Now, things that I showed you the other day, which to remember is blade, which allows you to cut footage up, arrow, which allows you to move footage around, and the pen tool. Now with the pen tool, as I remember, always make sure down here where my mouse is moving, the pen tool here, which is selected, this is turned on when you're using it, because what it'll allow you to do is select points and actually change them. So I've selected one point there, second point here, which means I can actually grab this black line and drag it down. Now that means that when I go up to sequence and render, I can render either selection or all. When this renders, it will now fade out because that shows the screen going down. Now another thing to remember is this middle screen, is you can actually double click on footage and make sure that this arrow here is at the beginning of the footage before you double click, so you can watch. Now it's not going to be full frame, but it'll give you an idea of what it will look like when it is rendered. See, I can see it fading out. So what you do is you double click and it'll appear there. You make sure that this arrow and line is at the beginning of the footage, and then you can play it. Now if you want to move along to watch footage, you always just click and drag on this top bar. Now see how this footage is like that? I can then go up and I can render it. I won't do it because it'll take time, but you understand what I mean. Other things to take into consideration is at the moment I've got these the footage and the sound unlocked. I've done that by going up to edit and unticking this because I don't want the sound in this footage. If it was linked, when I moved this, the sound would move with it as well. But because I've gone up to edit and I've unlinked the selection, means I can actually select the sound and delete it. Now I could be free to come in and put in my own sound. And that's the same as footage. You simply go File, Import, Import Files, as we did with the footage. And then I simply find the sound that I want. So for this, if it doesn't want to load, it's not going to. Music. So I can select a song. For example, I'll green, choose, and it will appear here. And when I grab it, I drag it down, drop it in. I then have sound. Now this has to be rendered as well, where you'd have to go up sequence, render, and same with apply. And then after doing that, it means that I then have a sound and film, and I can start editing. And by keeping these two sections unlinked, it means I can move the sound where I want, and I can also move and cut the sound separate to the footage. Now, other things that you guys are interested in is slowing up and slowing up or slowing down footage. You can do that by going right click and go change speed, or if you can't right click on your Macs, it's simply control and just a normal click and that'll appear, change speed. Now if you want to make it faster, 200%, 400%, you make it slower, 40%, 20%. Now what this will do is it actually won't drop the quality off too much, but it'll extend sort of how slow something is. But do be aware, if you get it down to around 10%, you might start to notice a sort of pixelation of the footage, I would say, but that's something you can consider. The other thing I'll say before I finish this is always render. When you do something, render it, because it's easier to render in small sections than trying to render everything one large go, because that will just take a very long time. But I really hope this helps you guys, and you can address this video before you come grab me, because it means that you'll start to work independently, and it'll be a lot easier for you guys to sort of discover how to use this program yourself, because a lot of it is just fiddling around. I'll show you guys a few other things probably in the next couple of days, but this should get you all going.